Good morning, everyone. I am Yuktasri from Siddhartha Mahila Kalashala. Today, we are conducting student talk on behalf of Society for Learning Technologies and Siddhartha Mahila Kalashala. Today, my friend Srivalli Maheshwari is going to take a session on connecting front-end to back-end by using Spring Boot framework. Now, I am handovering this session to Srivalli. Thank you.
Thank you, Yukta. Good morning, everyone. I am Srivalli Maheshwari, currently pursuing degree final year in Sri Durga Malleswara Siddhartha Mahila Kalashala. So today I would like to take a session on behalf of Society for Learning Technologies and Siddhartha Mahila Kalashala, covering the topic connecting front-end to back-end using Spring Boot framework. So before going to this front-end and back-end, I just wanted to start with API. So generally we know that API stands for Application Programming Interface, which allows different systems or applications to communicate with each other. So we can say that API acts like a bridge so that one can make a request to another and receive responses immediately. So understanding this API, we can understand this client server architecture very well. So here the client is the one who always makes requests to the server, and the server is the one who gives immediate responses to the client. And another one more important thing is the server communicates with the database and retrieves all the data which is requested by the client and gives it as a response to the client. So here we consider this client as a front end and the server as a back end which communicates with the database. So in backend, we have written the code in Spring Boot using Spring Boot framework and also using API methods such as post, put, get, and delete. So using these methods and Spring Boot framework, we have written this application. So the idea of this project is nothing but whenever you visit applications like Internshala, you need to visit every company which you need and you need to give details for each and every company. So in this application, without giving user details to each and every company, during registration itself, we give all the details like skills, experience, and industry. So by giving all the details during registration, we can get the companies which have matched with our user details, such as skills, experience, and the industry which we wanted to enter. So this is the basic idea of this application. So I'll explain you the procedures, what we have to do for this kind of connection between front end and back end. So first of all, to create any kind of job post, the company has to get registered and company has to get sign in. So after that, it can create the job post which they have. So simultaneously, user should also get registered and sign in to retrieve all those job posts which has matched his user details. So after retrieving all those jobs, user can create an applications to any kind of companies which they have retrieved. So these applications again will be retrieved by the company, and they'll be viewing other further details like resume or whatever accounts like LinkedIn and GitHub. So they can see whatever the projects done by the user and they can update the job status. These are the processes we are going to do in this application. So through this application, I'm going to explain the connection between front end and back end. So I'll be starting the procedure first and later I'll be explaining the code. So for that, I'm opening VS Code. In this, I have written the front end. So this is the home page. I'm opening this with the live server. So before that, I have to run the backend application. Now I will be opening this homepage using live server. So first of all, I told you to create any kind of job post, a company should get registered or login. So I'm clicking on company login. Here you had to observe the procedure. Mainly the three things should be observed here. The first thing here to observe is when I clicked on register, the page gets refreshed when I click on this OK again. This is the first thing to be observed. And the second thing is for signing in also, I'll be filling all those details again. And the third thing to be observed is when I clicked on sign in button, we'll be redirecting to the dashboard page. So these three things we have written in the code. So in the home page, I have clicked on a company button before. So by clicking on that, I have given a link here in the code to redirect me to this .html page. So I'll be redirected to this .html page. So in this HTML page, there is a form which I filled, whatever it is, the company name, the password, or the email, or the city of the company, whatever. So after filling all these details, the first thing I have did is to click on register button. So when I clicked on register button, the page got refreshed immediately. Why this has happened is because the code I have written in company script.js. So in this company script.js only, I have connected this front end to the backend. We had to remember the ID here for the registration button. So the ID given here is also used in this company script.js. In company script.js, first of all, this is the line for uh, loading of the HTML content. And after that, we have mentioned this ID here. Means if that particular button is clicked, means if that ID is present for that button and that particular button is clicked, this is click. So if that button is clicked, it will be taking all those values which we have given and sending it as an input to this endpoint. This endpoint is present in IntelliJ. This is backend. So here is the connection from front end to backend. This is the endpoint in the IntelliJ. So I'll show you now where I have written this endpoint in IntelliJ. So API companies registration. So in company controller, I have this API companies. So generally in backend, there will be in our project in Spring Boot, there will be company controller services and repositories. I explained you before, the server is nothing but the backend which communicates with the database and gives responses to the clients. So similarly in the backend, there will be controller which handles all those any kind of requests and sends the input to this service. So in company service, we will have the logic for the registration. So in company service, we'll be creating all those details and we'll be accessing repository from the service. Why do we access repository from the service means in any kind of repository, we will be extending JPA repository. So in JPA repository, we have some methods like save, delete, find by ID, etc. So it can communicate with the database and give us the outputs. So as we extended this JPA repository, any kind of repositories like company repository, job repository, this all extends this JPA repository. So easily this company repository can also access the database. So we have access company repository in company service. So in this way, the backend works. The controller handles the request, and from controller, we will be going to the service for the logic. And from service, we'll be accessing repositories to communicate with the database. And in return, we will get all those details what we have created in the database. So this is the registration thing, and also the output will be in a JSON form JavaScript object notation. And if the registration is successful, we'll be getting an alert like this. And I told you to observe one thing there. When I clicked on registration button and OK, the page got refreshed because I have written here I should be redirected to the same page, nothing but the company registration.html. So I have redirected to the same page again. So if any kind of errors like password incorrect or something are there, it will be showing us like errors, alerts like registration failed, etc. So this is how registration worked. So the second thing to observe there, I told you, is I have filled all those details while signing in. But I here I have taken only two details because in IntelliJ we have I mean in IntelliJ in signing controller we have taken two things only, email and password as inputs. So here also I have taken only two things, even we have filled all the details like city and all, I have taken only company email and password. So again this is the connecting point from front end to back end. So this is how I connected the front end to back end. Means this is the endpoint in the back end. So after this, we will be going to the backend. The procedure will be done in the backend. So from here, we will be taking company email and password as input, and we'll be going to the sign in service. In sign in service, the logic for the verification of company email and password takes place. So if that particular company email and password gets validated, and if all those are hashed and got validated, we will be going to the authentication service to create JWT token. So JWT token is nothing but in real life, when we go to any kind of websites and get registered, and after someday you wanted to use it again, then you had to sign in, because you already have an account in that. So when you sign in and do the work, and again after some days you had to sign in again, because for that website, that is a JWT token gets expired for your account. So JWT token is dependent on time, which will be writing in sign in service itself. So here is the time for the JWT token in our application. So using this JWT token, we can also validate our passwords or any kind of details. So in this way, for creating the JWT, we will be going into this authentication service, and also for decoding this JWT for any kind of extra information. Also, we have written this code. So in this way, we will be signing in for any kind of websites. So now, what I told you is, after getting sign in, the company has to create a job post. For that, it will be creating a job post. So let's say it's front end, and the skills required are this, and experience required is 5 years, and the industry is IT, and it will be creating a job like this. And I just, to remove the confusion, I'm creating another job. So I'm creating another job by the same company. So now the company has created the job. How it has created this? In company dashboard, we have this create job button. So when we click on that button, what should get happened is written in company script.js using this ID itself. So this button, for this button, this ID is there. So remember this ID in company script.js. This is for the creating job. So if that ID is present, means if we click on that button, it will be redirecting us to the create job.html page. So in create job.html page, we will be having a form where we have the title of the job, description, script, skills, experience, and industry. So here, before, I have filled all these details in the form, and I clicked on create job button. So in create job button, when I clicked on this, as this is a submit button, and even in company registration.html for signing also, I clicked on this submit button. But anywhere, whether it is a button or not, we have to see whether it's a submit type button. If it is submit type button, in this, if it is a submit type button, we have to take the ID which is in the form tag. So here I have the ID create job form. So in company script.js, for the submission of this creating job submission, I have taken this create job form. So if that ID is present, it will take all the values as an input and sends this to this backend. So this is again the another connecting point for post method. So this is the endpoint in the backend. So in backend, we'll be writing this code API jobs create for in job controller. We'll be writing this creating jobs. And from these, we'll be accessing the job service for business logic. So here all the details will be created, and for storing these details in database, we need to access the repository so that it has the methods to communicate with the database. So from this job service, I have accessed job repository. So in this way, this creating job has done. So after this, will be redirected to the company dashboard again. Before I had told you, after creating this job, another job I'll be creating now for more understanding. So I'm redirected to the dashboard page again because I have written in the code. I just wanted to come back to the dashboard page because I can create more number of jobs again. So for after this creation of jobs, user should also get simultaneously registered and sign in. So for that, I'm coming back to the home page. I'm clicking on sign in as user. And here one thing to get noticed is when I clicked on inspect and in console, we'll be seeing all the details get stored here. The password will also be getting hashed like this as a string. So after clicking on OK, same thing as in company registration. So we'll be so now when I click on sign in, I'll be getting a JWT token in the local storage in your systems. So when I clicked on sign in, we'll be getting a JWT token and we will be redirected to the dashboard. So this is similar to the company registration and sign in. The first thing you have to remember is the ID which we have given, whether it is in registration button or it is in sign in button. So for sign in button, as this is a submit time, the form is being submitted. So the ID which is present in that form only should be given in the JavaScript. So after coming to the dashboard, we need to check our jobs which have matched with our details. So after clicking on this, will be whatever the jobs we will be having there. So when we clicked on get your jobs button, we got these kind of jobs. These jobs match with our user skills, experience, and industry. So after having this, user can create an application for what company he wants to apply. So I'll be going back to create an application. After getting jobs, he'll be creating an application. For this, I'll be for that particular job ID, the job status is just applied now. And the resume link is also given here. And this link is mark it as public so that anyone can view this link to view the user resume. So this is the GitHub account and we can also give the link for the LinkedIn profile, etc. So by giving all these, user will be creating an application. So after creating these applications for the job ID, the company will also see for that particular job ID how many applications are there can be checked by the company. So if the company clicked on this get user applications by job ID, it will be getting these details, because for that job ID only one user get applied for this job in our application for just now. So in this way it can retrieve all the applications for the job ID. So how this is done in company dashboard, when the company clicks on this button, so this ID is activated. So in company script.js, we have written this for handling applications to get applications. So if that ID is present, means that button is clicked. When that button is clicked, it will be redirecting us to the get applications by job ID. What do we have in get applications by job ID? In get applications by job ID.html, we'll be fetching all those applications from this backend endpoint. So we'll be going to this backend endpoint, and there we'll be giving job ID as one. So if the company wants to retrieve all the applications for job ID 10 or whatever, we have to replace this one. So for that job ID, how many applications are applied for that job ID can be retrieved by the company. So in this way, it can retrieve, it can fetch how many applications are there for the job ID, and how after fetching it should get displayed all those applications, right? So for that this function works. So it is displayed in this way, whatever the application ID, user ID, job ID, job status, and the resume link and the GitHub account link. So it can also include LinkedIn profile link, etc. So after getting all those applications, after viewing this resume, and it can also view the GitHub account for whatever the projects they have done. So after viewing these applications, it can update the status whether they got selected or rejected. So if I'm just updating the status as selected, so if I just refresh the page, the job status got updated. So this updated status can also be viewed by the users. So the job got updated in the that particular form in this way, because I wrote the code for update status also, and I have given this connecting point for backend. So from front end, this is the connecting point for the backend update. So in company controller, this is the application updating application status. So using this, the job status got updated. So whatever the updated status is there can also be viewed by the users, because they have to know whether they got selected or rejected. They can know their application status by clicking on this button. So the job got selected means the user can uh, go further in this company or whatever, or else he can also create another kind of application. So using this also we can know whether our application details to be updated or whatever. We can use this button. So in this way we are connecting the front end to the back end. And here in get status button, this is for knowing your application status, whether you got selected or rejected. And here also from front end we have connected back end through this endpoint. And application ID is given here. For even you'll be giving in URL in applications like Postman. So, but in our front end code, we'll be giving like this, whether it's for application ID, whether it's for job ID, etc. So through this, we can connect front end to back end like this. And if you want any kind of background images, we'll be keeping that in this body tag. I mean, like this background equal to some picture, whatever user wants or the company wants. So this is a kind of website where we'll be connecting the front end to back end using Spring Boot framework. So I hope everyone understands this. So thank you for Society for Learning Technologies for providing me this opportunity. Thank you, everyone.